All right, so now that we covered some of the introduction to ZBrush with some of the basic principles, we're gonna move on to the core elements, the foundation, and those pillars of sculpting. So we're gonna talk about the workflows and the different approaches that you have to creating meshes or editing those meshes and ultimately sculpting those meshes, as well as the brushes. Let's go ahead and jump straight into it. All right, so here we are in ZBrush, and this is where we left off. So this is the character that we're creating, and we're still using the custom UI that we're building. So we're gonna continue with the same principle, the same idea of building the UI or bringing in the elements that we need. So things are gonna start to get a little bit busier just because we're gonna use other tools and other processes, but keep in mind that this is just so that you can focus and learn the specifics of a tool. You can then arrange the UI in any way you want to. Let's say that in the future, you might not wanna deal with the subtool, delete and duplicate and append from here. You're comfortable just keeping the subtool palette always open and then just use it from here. That is also totally valid. The customization of the UI is something very personal that ultimately just comes down to how you work. So depending on what you wanna do and how you wanna approach ZBrush, you might end up editing the UI. Me personally, I usually change the UI every now and again because I discover a new tool or a new process and the previous one doesn't work anymore, so I just move it around. So that is just to say that if you are following along with this UI, keep in mind that we're gonna continue to build it, but you can change it and create your own afterwards. So let's go ahead and get into the brushes and the sculpting process. So right now, if I turn on the polyframe, remember we have multiple subtools, and remember this is also covered in the previous section. I wanna hold the Alt key to click the different areas. We have a relatively clean set of meshes, right? We have just very simple topology. So the next thing that we're gonna bring into our UI are the brushes. So let's go to preferences first. Make sure that the config is set to enable so that we can move things around. I'm gonna move my Epic pen. This is just an extra tool that I use to explain things, so nothing to do with ZBrush. And we're gonna bring in a palette to the left tray. So I've already covered that these things right here, if you double click these arrows, it collapses or opens up this tray. The cool thing in ZBrush is that you can have two trays open. So I'm gonna double click on the one on the left, and now we have this space here. And let's actually click on this one to remove it, just because I want to be able to show you this a little bit easier. Let's actually put this here so that it doesn't distract you. All right, so on the left-hand side, we can put anything that we want. So I'm going to take the brush palette, I'm going to click on it, and this little icon right here allows you to drag and put the entire palette either on the left or on the right. So I'm going to put it on the left-hand side, and you'll see I have a bunch of brushes in here. Ultimately, this is because this is my ZBrush, and I have a bunch of custom brushes. So I'm going to click on the R button just to again, reset this or clear this up a little bit. And this is my thumbnail, or this is the equivalent to the thumbnail here for the tools. If you remember, you click on this one and have access to all of the tools. Same thing here. If you click on the brush, you have access to all of these brushes. Like I said, there are some custom brushes that I've built myself or that I've created. So you might not have exactly the same thing, but for the most part, these are going to be exactly the same. So with this, I'm going to show you two things. If we actually add this thumbnail to the UI, we will be able to click on it, and then we're going to be able to select any brush that we want. So if I hold the Alt and the Control key, let's put this one here for the time being and collapse this. So at any point, I will be able to say, all right, I don't want to use the standard brush. I want to use something like the Move brush. So I need to go and find the Move brush in here, click on that, and then I can use the Move brush, right? So I can switch to the different brushes that I want to use just by clicking on this. So that is something very easy to do. So let's go ahead and start with that. And then once you know the system, I'll show you how you can optimize it. So we're going to use the Move brush first. So I'm going to click on the thumbnail. And you see, because we have a lot of brushes, we can actually filter by the letters that the brushes start with. So it becomes very easy once you know exactly the name of the brushes, but some of them are very intuitive. So for example, with the Move brush, I'm going to click on the M, and that basically filters anything that starts with M, and you'll be able to find the Move, right? So now you see each one of these brushes have an additional letter, so V. So this is really handy because now we can click on the thumbnail, we can press the letter M on your keyboard, that filters automatically, and then press the letter V, and that automatically selects this brush. Now this is already knowing the system. You can click on the thumbnail, you can filter by the letter M, then filter, let's say if you want the topological, you press T, and that's it. Now you can do this a lot faster once you learn some of these brushes. So instead of clicking on the thumbnail, actually, I'm going to get rid of the thumbnail. I'm going to click, I'm going to hold Control Alt and drag it out. So we got rid of this one. You can bring the same palette by pressing the letter B. So if you press B on your keyboard, it brings this quick palette with all your brushes. Then you can press the letter M to filter by the letter M, and then V to select the move brush. So now, even though you don't see it anywhere or you don't see the thumbnail anywhere, you have the move brush selected. I personally like to see what I have selected because sometimes it's hard to know if it is the standard brush or the move brush. So I rather have something in the UI. But I just wanted to show you that you can use and learn the shortcuts with 3 letters so that you can switch quickly between different tools. So for example, if I press B to bring in the palette of the brushes, then I'm gonna go for S, which filters the standard brushes and anything that starts with S. And then I'm gonna press the letter T for standard. That's it. So now I have the standard brush. All right. So let's back it up a little bit. I just wanna show you this, how that works. And I'm actually gonna take this brush and put it on the left-hand side. Let's put it here. Just because I wanna also show you, you have the ability to add your brushes or anything else in the left-hand side of the UI or at the bottom as well. But for now, I think I'm gonna leave it here just as an example of what I'm gonna create. And let's go ahead and collapse this. All right, so exactly the same thing that I had before. I just move it from this area to this area. And I only have it here because I wanna be able to know which brush I have. But the easiest way will always be to press B, then M, then V, right? If I wanna choose the move brush. And if I wanna go back to the standard, B, S, T. Again, this is optimizing the system. This is already kind of like getting into shortcuts, and you'll have to remember those shortcuts. There's no other way around it. But having the thumbnail here allows you to just select things manually. All right, so what does the move brush does? So obviously, if I bring in the brushes, again, dealing with all of this and covering exactly what every single brush does is probably not a good use of the time because it will just be way too long. But they are very self-explanatory. I'm gonna focus on the main ones that would allow you to create anything that you want. The other ones become very, very specific for very specific purposes. So with the move brush, like the name says, it allows you to move things. So right now I have the arm selected. I'm gonna go into solo mode. I can click and drag, and you'll see it just moves things around. I can rotate the camera and then just push this one like so, and maybe like this. But obviously this is not what we want. I mean, it'll be kind of like cool to have like a spiky arms for this character, but that's not what we want. So let's press Ctrl Z to go back. And if I wanna adjust or move things in a larger scale, not just creating these little spikes, what I need to do is increase my brush size. So let's go ahead and bring that into the UI because it is directly related to the brushes. So I'm gonna go to the draw palette here, and we have the draw size and we have the focal shift. So I'm gonna hold Ctrl, Alt, click and drag my slider, and I'm actually gonna put it around here. Let's put it here. And let's go ahead and do the same thing for the focal shift, Ctrl, Alt, and let's put it here. And there is one more that we need, not necessarily for the move brush, but for the other brushes that are for sculpting. So I'm gonna go to the draw palette, and it's this one right here, the Z intensity. So Ctrl, Alt, drag. Let's actually put it here at the bottom. We have space. Great. So these are the main 3 things that you're going to look into when tweaking or adjusting the brush. The main one being the size. So when you click and drag, you can press this and adjust it. Now, ZBrush, in recent years, they've introduced some shortcuts. So you have the brackets. So in your keyboard, if you press the close brackets and open brackets, I'm just literally clicking and holding to increase and decrease the size. So that is an optimization of that system already. So we can use those shortcuts, or you can just click and drag, right? If you want to do things a little bit faster, you can also right click. And you've probably tried this already, that when you use the right click anywhere in the canvas, you will see this pop up. So this is essentially a quick menu to select a bunch of things. You can right click and choose this thumbnail right here and choose a different brush. You can do right click, choose a different tool. So it is basically everything that I've been showing you all condensed into this little pop-up. So from here, you also have the draw size. You also have the focal shift. You also have RGB intensity and C intensity. But again, we're gonna try to not get you overwhelmed with all this extra stuff that we haven't touched. We're gonna focus on the draw size in here, and that is gonna be the easiest one. All right, so with that said, let's go ahead and choose a larger brush size. And it's always easier to manipulate, a few points with a larger brush than with a tiny one. And let's get out of solo mode. And we can use this to maybe add a little bit of a shoulder here, or, I'm just clicking and dragging to adjust this a little bit, right? And then you see, okay, let's go back into solo mode. This forearm is kind of like dipping into the hand, but it's not like a clean mesh. So you can try to go, all right, I'm gonna push or maybe reduce my brush size. I'm gonna click here and then I'm gonna push this, but it's also taking this bit into account. So you don't wanna do that. So let's undo that. And you can, keep going with a smaller brush size and try to get that to work, but it's gonna be very, very hard. So that is when a different brush comes into play, which is the move topological. So it is going to be exactly the same thing, but it is important that you know the difference between the two brushes so that you can easily manipulate your mesh. So I'm gonna click on the brush thumbnail and I'm gonna go to move topological. So you see the icon is basically the same thing. The difference is that we have this wireframe of this topology. So the cool thing about this brush, and let's go ahead and increase the brush size, is that it will respect the continuity of the topology. And that means that, let's say, the hand that we use, the green polygroup here, you see that it just goes inside because it is a single mesh, right? So that means that whenever I click first, the topology brush is going to respect the continuity. So if it doesn't find any connection or any connection to the points, it's just going to ignore it. So I can, even with a large size brush, I can click here and I can push this down. You see, that is respecting that topology. So that is a really, really handy thing. So this is just to say that to edit or to adjust any of these meshes, you can switch between the move topological and the move So that is just to say that if you want to edit your meshes, anything that we have here so far, you can jump between the move topological so that you can maybe push this up or adjust these things, or jump to the move brush, and that allows you to adjust everything at once. So very, very handy stuff. And because this is so handy and so useful, instead of just clicking here and selecting the brush every single time, we can actually go ahead and bring in some brushes to the bottom of the UI so that you have them accessible at any point. So let's go ahead and open up this tray. And you'll see that because we have previously chosen the move brush and the topological, they appear here. So for example, if I choose, I don't know, this is /3, click on that one, now it appears in here. So we will be able to choose these things. There is one little thing that is important. You see that this brush has kind of like an outline or a highlight, and it has the name also highlighted. If I switch to deco, it's going to do the same thing here. So if you choose this one to put in your UI, it's the same thing as using the thumbnail. So for example, if I want to add the move into the UI, I just need to select something else so that this is not highlighted, then hold Control, Alt, and drag it in. And I'll do the same thing now. I'm going to choose the move brush, and I'm going to bring the move topological. Great, let's go ahead and collapse this. And let's actually move this closer. So now we can switch between the move topological and the move brush very, very easily, right? So this is super handy. We're going to leave this one here for the time being in case we need to use something else. And now with these two brushes, nothing else, we're going to continue to adjust the character and nothing else. So we're going to concentrate on doing that. Let's go ahead and decrease the brush size, and we're going to push this thumb up and make this hand feel a little bit more like a hand with nothing else. I'm literally just pulling and pushing geometry. I'm not sculpting anything yet. I'm just making sure that whatever I have here is it kind of like makes sense. All right, so that I think is looking a lot better, just with some tiny tweaks. You could do the same thing here with the shoulder. We can maybe bring in this out a little bit and actually push this in a bit more. All right, and let's actually push some of these vertices in slightly so that the fingers are not just like sausages. There we go. And here as well. All right, you can spend a lot more time here, but the basics are these, right? Like we're using the move topological to adjust individual pieces, even though they're the same subtool, but it has multiple objects. That's why we can use the move topological. Now, let me just show you something else. If I go to another object, let's say the body, and I go into solo mode, this looks like we also have different groups, right? It looks like we have different colors or polygon ID, but it is actually the same mesh. So the main difference is that this one is a single mesh. We just have different polygroups. So if I go back to the arms, these are literally different objects that we just mashed together to create this one. This one is the result of a Boolean operation. So if I just go ahead and use the move topological, and let's say I want to just move the green out for whatever reason, I'm going to click and drag. I'm moving the green, but I'm also using the same brush to move the red, even though I'm using the move topological, because in this case, the topology, it is part of the same. So if I get closer, you see it is attached with some triangles, but it is attached. Whereas with the arms, the geometry is not continuous. Like there is no loop that continues from the forearm into the hand. So let's undo that. So that's just a very simple thing to keep in mind, but it's very useful. And if you don't know about that, it just becomes very frustrating. So I want to make sure that I cover that. All right, so now that we know what the move brush does, we can just go ahead and start changing the brush size and make sure that you have symmetry enabled. So let's click on that one. And we can start adjusting the shape of our character, like the head. Maybe push this this part of the mouth up, and maybe let's reduce the brush size slightly, and we're gonna push this slightly up, just to create a bit of an expression that's less scared. All right, so the point here is that you're gonna go through all of the pieces and adjust them just so that it feels more integrated. But we're not focusing yet on how they, how all these pieces flow into each other just yet. That's gonna be the next step. But before that, we need to make sure that as a blockout, it works well. I'm gonna switch to the move brush now, and I'm gonna push this maybe with a larger brush size, just so that I can adjust the placement of those arms slightly, maybe push them back a bit. I'm gonna switch to the ears and push them back as well, so I don't have any intersection or like a weird connection here. All right, excellent. So now we have something slightly better. Again, I just wanted to show you a simple, very basic tweak with these two brushes.